welcome to Mr. Rob Presents. Today, Valentine's Day, 14th of February. Happy Valentine's to all the lovers out there and everyone else. Remember to go see live shows, support your artists. And today, to celebrate what's coming this February, really close to here at Z Space in the Mission, we have a fabulous, incredible clown, Sara Moore. You just wrote a fantastic show. It's called The Supers. It's playing at Z Space here in the Mission, and you're going to tell us all about it. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wal.
Happy to have you. Let's start a little bit about who you are and how you got to this position in your life where you're basically the hardest working clown in show business and a San Francisco fixture. In a nutshell, in a cracked nut.
In a cracked, exactly.
Who is Sara Moore?
Well, gosh, I love that. Did somebody call me the hardest working clown in show business? Merv Griffin said that. Well, I've been fortunate. I've had a really lovely, ridiculous, eccentric career. And it brought me out to California 20 years ago to make a circus. And I had already been in touch with many of the original Pickle Family Circus folks like Judy Finelli and Diane Wozniak and Jeff Raz. Like, I knew all these people, and I wanted to emulate them, and I wanted to be where the action was for American clowns. And as it happens now, all these years later, I'm running the Clown Conservatory and getting to produce the kind of work that I've always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So The Supers is sort of the culmination of all these years of bringing together these different forms of clowning and different techniques, and then, just blasting it into something completely new. So dare I say, that we have created the world's first clown opera. And what I mean by that is, it's got all of the elements of grand opera. It's got tragedy and comedy and poetry and just huge, very dramatic stories. And you get very immersed in what's happening with all the characters. But instead of singing voices, what we have is very high-end physical comedy and physical dramedy, actually. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but it took me a while to get here. Just like I liken The Supers a lot to Forrest Gump, which was a movie that was in turnaround for 15 years because they just couldn't get the right elements together. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like The Supers is happening because it's like every person on this project came to us on a magic carpet. Like, that's how they just sort of serendipitously were in the right place at the right time. And so I feel insanely lucky that I have the cast and the creative team that I have.
And isn't that the magic crucible of San Francisco, the classic San Francisco, where all the ingredients come out of the bushes?
That's it!
For a beautiful explosion and then vanish again.
Well,
and
exactly.
Then the hardest thing is to pull a repeat of a show or a sequel of a show because everybody's already moved on.
Right. And I'm very aware of that. I'm very aware of that as I'm watching the set go up at Z Space and I'm watching these beautiful, clown artists on stage, like creating these roles that I wrote. And my director, Colin Johnson, who I really believe is a rising star, he's the best director I've ever worked with. Mm-hmm. But he's very, he's very kinetic, he's very hands-on, but he also backs up enough to let people put their fingerprints and imprint themselves on these characters. Colin runs Awesome Theater, which is this wonderful little theater company that's been in residence down at Piano Fight. And in their own way, they do very, very, very physical and very cartoon theater. Mm-hmm. And they sort of they go between, horror and comedy and technology. They comment on a lot of things. It's fascinating because I know that this is a golden moment. And my hope is that the show will have legs and it will go on from here. Because the whole meaning of the show is really, it's all about love. I mean, the subtitle is, love is the last great technology. Mm-hmm. So that's perfect for Valentine's Day, actually, isn't it?
That's right. So this director or you and him are choosing to go full pantomime on this?
Yes, with vocalizations.
Explain a little bit the choices. Explain what that means for the audience here.
It wasn't so much a choice as it was an evolution, because I've gotten to the point now, having been a playwright for a long time and a clown and a speaking clown in many cases, I got to the point where I just got tired of language, and I decided to create a whole new kind of form where it isn't a whole new form. It's actually a very old form, but I'm packaging it differently. What I wanted ever since I was a kid was to have the clowning that I love, which is very much the silent film clowning, and symphonic music, because I grew up going to see the Philadelphia Orchestra as a child, and I loved it, and I still do. And so this now is really this culmination of bringing together symphonic music, the music of Rob Reich, who is one of the great Bay Area composers. Part of the way the Supers has been designed is a little bit like a video game. I mean, I'm a child of the 80s, and it's like, honestly, I grew up playing Tron and Space Invaders and all that stuff. And one of the central characters, the actual building superintendent in this show, is a gamer guy. So some of the music that Rob has developed for the show is very video game like. And then he goes the other complete opposite extreme, and he's built stuff that sounds like Kurt Weill or Debussy or Prokofiev. Prokofiev is the one that actually I think of when I hear Rob's music. But then Rob always puts his twist on things, so it's him.
Is he going to be live playing with musicians, or is it pre-recorded music by his own means and devices in a studio prior to the show?
Exactly. Beautifully put. Wow, that's exactly what he's going to do.
So a number of different symphonic aspects in a soundtrack.
Yeah, we have beautiful violins. We have some sax. We have. It's more like a jazz. It's like a jazz symphonic sound, and then there's also the sort of weird '80s video game sound.
Gotcha.
So it's fun, and it creates this sense of immersion because the characters are just moving, and all the gestures are they can be very subtle, but they can be very big, and at the same time there's vocalizations, what we call clownish. People are speaking clownish. So if I were to say hello to you, I'd say, hey, ho, ho, hey, ho. And
Gotcha.
So there's a whole sort of language that we cultivate as clowns that goes way back, and it's originally called Gramolo, but we call it clownish to bring it up to date.
And your cast is, for the most part, circus performers or theatrical actors?
Kind of both. I mean, I have Maureen McVeary, which is unbelievable. That's like working with Carol Burnett. I mean, Maureen is a Bay Area star. And I was lucky to get her for the role of Helena. And I wanted this spectrum, from young to older, and of course diverse in race and ethnicity too. So, but yeah, we have Di Marcello Finesse, who grew up in the Prescott Circus, Kayla May Paz Suarez, who is an incredible local Bay Area actor. Then you have Joel Baker, which is amazing because Joel is a star of Cirque du Soleil, and he's been overseas with different circuses over there, and he's just a star clown. And I'm amazed that he happened to be in the right place at the right time. Then also we have Adam Roy, who's someone that I've worked with a lot. We've done drag shows together, and he's like the rest of them. He's doing like Jedi level clowning.
So a fantastic cast.
It is a fantastic cast.
10 shows only. So this is all happening this month, February.
Yeah.
And this is going for just 2 weeks.
It is, and I'm already regretting that because I feel like it should run for a month. We weren't quite aware what we were getting into, and now we realize that it's very possible this show is going to take off because it's so much fun. It's such a great family show. It's the kind of show where you can have children, standing on their mother's laps and interacting with these characters as they go through the whole tumult of their lives as refugees coming to this earth. And then you've got, it's really for everyone from 3 to 93.
Great,
So,
I was going to ask you that because some shows could be geared at adults and others at kids only. So this is really the full spectrum where the politics will reach the adults and the antics will reach everybody.
Can I steal that? That's beautiful. The politics will reach the adults and the antics will reach the children.
On your plaque.
Yeah, that's perfect.
The theme of the show is these refugees going through space. Tell us a little bit more about the inspiration for the play and the synopsis of the play.
The show came to me after 9/11. Vanity Fair did an amazing spread of photographs of all the sort of heroes of 9/11. And one of the pictures, wow, it was incredible, was of a tiny little boy in a Superman costume standing in the window of a tenement, and the photograph was of the fire escape, and his godfather had draped the American flag off the fire escape. And so here's this little boy in the window dressed as Superman, and he happens to be Lebanese, as it was his godfather, who had fled war-torn Lebanon. And so it just struck me in the heart like no other photograph ever, because I thought, after 9/11, there was a lot of profiling going on, and there was, a kind of anti-Arab sentiment. It was pretty awful, actually. But in New York, it felt like people were galvanized. And here was this photograph of this beautiful little boy of color. And to me, that was America. That's what we stand for. And so I thought to myself, what if actually we find out, each of us, through these traumas, through these terrible things that happen, that each of us actually has a superpower, that we're capable of things we didn't know we were capable of. So that I applied that to the story because that's true. You know, when we go through trauma, if we stay open, we find out that we actually are stronger than we knew,
Right.
and new things happen to us, and we become new people. That's also a fantastic metaphor for anything else.
Right. If you want to see light, you need to know shadow.
Right. And life is heartbreak, you know, and it's constant heartbreak. And the thing is, you just have to go with it. You have to realize that you're born with a broken heart, and you're going to continue to have your heart broken over and over. But it's how you respond to it. I mean, yes, we all want to go under the covers, and yes, we get angry at each other. But if we can find a way to push past that, that's where being a super comes in.
Gotcha.
And so the Supers is about that. It's about these war-torn aliens, these people from all over, and they're very funny. They come here, and they're up against Adam Roy, who takes on the different personae of, you know, the customs official, and outer space itself, and the army of one that's against them, and then he's the building superintendent who doesn't want these people living in his building. And the story is all about this kind of redemption of how
Gotcha.
we reach across to each other. And
How we magnify our pain and
Yeah.
sublimate it into love.
yes, all right, you need to come work with us.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler, sorry. No, but and I'm really, and the form in which we're doing this, the clown opera, is so universal, and that's why I'm so excited about it. Is that not only the content, which could have been written by Mr. Rogers, you know, the content is beautiful, but also I think the form is beautiful. And I think people are really going to enjoy it. And we only have 10 performances, and now I wish we had 20.
Gotcha.
So-
and 20 years in the making, then basically. So not as one may thought, just dwelling about the current tragic comic epoch that we are in at the moment. Even though I'm guessing some elements will transpire into the play. Is it?
But see, that's the Forrest Gump nature of this, because I honestly think when I went through so many drafts of it over the last 20 years, and it took on all these different forms, and we read it in New York at the Barrow Street Theater. It's had other readings. I've been talking to Lisa Steindler at Z Space for a long time. And then as I became, you know, sort of on the senior staff at Circus Center, I realized, you know, Circus Center was really interested in producing something that was clown innovation, you know, and so I'm like, I'll help, I'll innovate clowning. So it was a perfect marriage, really, and the
Right.
perfect timing. And yes, we are in an immigration crisis right now, and as the daughter of an immigrant, well, we should all be horrified. We should be equally horrified at the way our government is behaving, and has behaved. I mean, there's a statue with a torch.
Right.
Did we mean that, or is that just a bunch of, you know, is that just BS?
Right.
To me, it has to be real. And so I feel like, you know, my job as a clown, as an artist, is to speak to that, is to make art that brings us together. And in many ways, I know I'm in the Bay Area. I'm in the coolest place on earth. Okay, I just know it. And many of us here are screaming liberals, and we're also progressive, and we're very loving. But, you know, what I want for the Supers is that this launches it, that it becomes a show that has legs and goes on into other communities that maybe won't be so receptive to the idea of us all loving each other. And then tinier tours, school tours that go into the schools and create supers clubs.
Got you. Yeah, like a
know?
message in a bottle on the American cosmos.
Again, you should come work for us.
Take it.
But like, imagine all the kids get to design their own shields, you know, and they get to have their own super shield. I mean, that's the dream, is to infuse this idea over and over again, which is really the basics of kindergarten.
Right.
You know, when I see people who are blatantly racist or whatever, I'm like, didn't you learn anything? Didn't you go to kindergarten? Didn't you somehow, what did you miss about sharing? Because that's what life should be about. It's boring if it's just you hoarding everything.
Right.
And that's the beauty, too, of working on this show, is that it's, you know, everyone on it is a huge collaborator. And so it's the greatest thing in the world to have the seeds of your imagination flourishing in the hands of people that you love, who are really gifted and talented, and who can just make things pop. So, and it's a little weird to be standing back and be hands off and go, oh my God, it's all coming together. You know, it's exciting.
There's an element of cartoon in the title.
Very much
and
so.
I suppose in everything that you touch. Explain a little bit more how a cartoon and clown worlds collide.
Well, that's how, I mean, I found clowning through cartoons. I grew up watching Looney Tunes and fell in love with Daffy Duck and fell in love with the Tasmanian Devil. And I said, gosh, I want to do that. And I was kind of bummed when my dad said, well, listen, honey, that's actually, animation. You can't really drop an anvil on your head and survive. And I'm like, yes, you can if it's made of foam. So that kind of led me from being a child actor on into clowning. And I realized that's the closest you'll get. The world of clown is the world of the human cartoon. And so now, as I grow the Clown Conservatory, that's our tagline, is the human cartoon studio. So, and again, I think that's universal too, is everybody loves an animated presence, and I love experimenting with the highly animated all the way down to the smallest, most, sort of subtle thing.
And you have been in all kinds of theater. I remember seeing you at Thrill Peddlers playing Captain Eddie in Pearl River, Shanghai. So it's not like
God, you were there
yeah,
for that? Because I only did it twice.
I was there. I have it on video as well. So
you do?
Maybe we'll see a little snippet.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Captain in port for the first time. American troops here on the streets for the first time. Innocent, wild desire takes hold. Sailors in town on a hot night, lost in a moment of cheap thrill, wanting a day making fast time to remember when nights grow chill. We're searching for Shanghai. We're dreaming of you. We're strolling through Shanghai.
Oh my God, that was a highlight of my life, was getting to play Captain
For
Eddie.
most of us, it was that period of Thrill Peddlers was gorgeous, and
And
it always comes back. It's like a seed that keeps on giving.
That's the thing, and I love Russell. I love Russell and Jim, and I love the Cockettes. I mean, that's another thing that pulls people like us to the Bay Area. Is the minute I put on the Captain Eddie garb, I remember being really misty-eyed and being surrounded by Nancy French and Addie and all these amazing people who were there on the show, and they were like, you know what? You're a Cockette now. You're part of this history now.
You've touched the Grail, and,
Yeah.
and here now go do your thing. I want to remind everyone to go check out this show. It's coming up in the Mission at Z Space. The Supers is the title, and it will premiere. It's a San Francisco and a world premiere on the 20th of February here in San Francisco. We have another couple minutes to wrap things up with Sara Moore, who wrote the show, who acts in the show, and is a clown extraordinaire at the Circus Center in San Francisco. Who should be checking into that wants to learn more about clowning?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, anyone who wants to have the greatest 24 weeks of their life should join us for the next class of Clown Conservatory. It's a real tilt-a-whirl education, and it's really an exploration of the whimsical and also the poetic and the dark as well. I mean, everyone who does the program graduates from it and just says, oh my God, that was the most self-actualizing thing I ever did. Which is, of course, the basis of real clowning is, it's everything all at once. You're bringing your entire self to bear. So yes, we are thriving at Circus Center. We're under the great leadership of Barry Kendall, who really has brought the place back from a lot of turmoil from many years ago. It's a grand, beautiful old building. We affectionately call it the Old Pile. There's a lot going on there. We have everything from flying trapeze, we have adult rec classes, we have a youth circus program, we have the Clown Conservatory, we have summer camp, for circus camp for kids. So it's just a vibrant, wonderful place. And I have a clown lounge in there, so that makes me very happy, with a library of books.
Well, it's wonderful. I'm stoked to be part of the lounge of the Supers.
Well,
Thank you so much.
You have earned your nose,
I think
Mr.
so.
Wah.
Oh, that's fabulous.
It's very important to have a nose.
I think I should always be wearing a nose. But
Well, the thing about the nose is they call it the tiniest mask, it's very fun to have it, and it gives you immediately this sense of sort of a lightness of spirit, and also a depth of spirit. I mean, it's a very sort of mystical thing. I also am fine not wearing a nose, because I think sometimes that real clowns get their red noses from crying and drinking.
Yeah, there
which
might
is
be
where it
something
came from,
in there, I would think.
Yeah.
But
But it's fun to play with. I mean, we don't wear noses in the show, in the Supers. We're very European clowns in that sense. But also, we're new American clowns. And so to me that means that we are getting as close to human cartoon as possible.
Are they a lot of props? Are the props a big part of the show, or is it mostly an acted sort of presence that creates the environment?
Well, I mean, some of the we have some beautiful props. We have some luggage, obviously, because they've been traveling. We have a stunning set, absolutely beautiful set that was designed by Katie Whitcraft and Jackie Bugler. The props were designed by Kenna Lindsay, who's also a graduate of the Clown Conservatory. And we have a lot. I mean, it's very beautiful, but the real fireworks, come from the movement and the storytelling of the clowns. So. Everything accents everything else. Everything is sort of part of, it's all complementary.
Great.
But,
well, congratulations on
Thanks,
writing
Wah.
the show. I'm glad to have you here for the very first time.
Lovely to be here.
And you know what to do. Take this space flight at Z Space and enjoy the show.